Hello, everyone, and welcome all of you. So we have with us Kirtana Venkatesh and Digangana Mukherjee today. So of late, we have been, discussing, and we are getting a lot of queries with parents who are planning to adopt their second child. Means they already have a biological child and they are planning to go for adoption to grow their family. And Kirtana and Digangana both have adopted their second child. And that's how they have welcomed their heart babies and they've grown their family. And I have known them from last 3 years now. And I'm really happy with how the family is growing, how they are bonding. But for everybody's benefit, today we are here to discuss how everything shaped up and how they prepared and what's going on now, what were the challenges they face. So welcome Kirtana, welcome Digangana. Thank you for coming to discuss all these important things today.
Thank you, Shana.
Thank you, Sana. Thanks for having us.
So let's get started. So both of you already had a bio kid, and I'm sure your families and your friends would have probably asked you when you shared with them that we are planning to adopt. So what was your reaction? So how did it happen? So would you like to share? So who wants to go first?
Right now, my older one is 10, younger one is 5. My husband and I, we always wanted to adopt, and the initial idea was that we'll adopt our first child and then we'll have a biological child. But then, you know how the Indian society is, and some members of the family were not very happy about it. They said, "What will people say? You can't just adopt your first child." So we said, "Okay, we'll reverse roles." So we had our biological child. That's our first one. Almost 8 years after we got married. So, and after that, when she was about 3, we learned that, the waiting period at that time was like 27 months, 26, 27 months approximately. So, and I was quite particular that I wanted like an average of about 5 years age gap between both the kids. So when my older one was 3, that's when we applied for adoption. As such, I don't have any sob stories to share because everything was quite smooth. But with regard to the family, yes, we kind of restricted informing about our decision to adopt to just the immediate family, which is my parents and my sister and my husband's parents and his brother and their family, and that's about it. So we didn't really go ahead and share it with too many people, and of course, maybe just one or two very close relatives. So the big reveal happened only after we got her into foster care. So the moment we got her
Wow,
into foster
lovely.
care, we took a couple of pictures and videos and we sent it out in the family WhatsApp groups. And that's how it was kind of, announced to the larger part of the family. So there was not much of a hassle per se. And that's what I said. So there's no sob story. It was like generally a very smooth process. It took some time for my in-laws to come on board, but after they saw her, everything was hunky dory.
They just fell in love immediately.
Yes.
Lovely. How about you, Digangana? How was your experience?
So the experience, I would say, kind of similar to Kirtana, but for me, I knew that I would want to adopt when I was in college. Okay, so this was something that was something I just kind of knew that I'm going to do. So when before we were like all the plans of getting married, then boyfriend, now husband. Okay, Kunal. So I just sat him down and I said, okay, everything's fine, but this is something that I've always wanted to do, and I can only do it if you are on board. And he was like, it just took him a blink to say yes. And he was like, yeah, what's the big deal? And, we're going to do it. So that's how it, like it started with us. But for us, it was the other way around, a little different from what Kirtana just said. So we had this plan of having our bio child first and then going for adoption. So things were, but, things didn't work out very smoothly for us because it was like we struggled with infertility for almost 3.5 years, after which my son was born, right? And once he was born, at that time Kara had just started coming in place, and all these processes were like there, and I used to keep reading up, right? Because in at the back of my mind we were like, okay, we have to do this, so we have to be prepared. We were also staying outside of India at that time. And we knew somewhere that, once we start the process and the paperwork, we have to be back in India. So there was a lot of things that were kind of had to fall in place parallelly. Right. So when was like my son, he was 1.5 years old is when we started the paperwork. Like we came back to Bombay and then we started the paperwork. So that's how it really started for us. As far as the family is concerned, because already we had the bio child first, and everybody was like, yeah, but you can have a child. So that typical thing for people that you can only adopt if you are not biologically ready to have
Correct.
a child. And I think for all of us, we I know we are all shaking our head because for three of us we founded Pragna because we wanted to break this myth, right? And that was a
Absolutely.
myth so prevalent. I mean, my mother-in-law actually told me first, but you can have a child. I said, yeah, I know I can have a child, like, right here. So, so it's not about knowing that; it's about wanting something. Like we always wanted to have a family like that, and and there was a lot of like why, and I would always just turn around like me being me, and I was just, why not adoption, like why not? If I would have come and told you that I'm pregnant, would you have asked me, oh, why are you pregnant? Like, what's wrong with you? No, right? So it's the same with this. So that's how I guess it started. And you know what, once she came home and everybody saw, and and she came home bang in the middle of pandemic for us. So it was a we couldn't really take her to meet people or do any big thing for her, but we would like send pictures and things. And after a while, people just it was just like I have a son and a daughter. So that's all that is, where they have come from, what it is. I think, after a point, I think after the initial couple of weeks, it just kind of simmers down, right? So that's how it went, our journey.
So it's all about like the, starting trouble, I would say the hiccups that come in the beginning of any journey that we kind of, head on to. So, like all three of us are, like parent to two children, like me and Kirtana both have two daughters and you have a son and a daughter. So in my case, it was a vice versa thing because my older one is an adopted heart baby and the younger one is the, my bio kid. So for me, it was kind of easy to, like take her on board, like, yeah, you're going to have a sibling. It might be a brother or a sister. So the baby is growing. So it was quite easy, I would say, like, thank to God means probably I did not have to break my head on that. But how did it come to you? Like, because I'm sure, Kirtana, by the time, like your younger one came, the older one was probably what, 5 years old by then or six
No,
years
she was
old?
6. She was 6.
Yeah, she was 6. So a 6-year-old child would probably know like how a baby comes. Like baby comes from tummy. So why, my sister is not coming from tummy. So how did you onboard her? Like both of you, like how did you onboard your children, the older ones, that there is a younger sibling who is going to join us, who is going to be a part of our family. So tell something about that because the viewers are mostly concerned about it. What will you tell your child? So please take the
Okay,
honors
so
and let us know.
yeah, so when we decided to submit our application, when the older one was about 3 plus, close to 3.5, we sat her down and told her that we're going to get a baby sister, and we had decided it was going to be a girl. We were opting very specifically for a girl child, so we said we're going to get you a baby sister, but she's going to be coming from someone else's baby bag. So we never tell them as tummy, so it's like baby bag. And
Mhm.
she was okay with it. And then, there were a few questions as to, why is she not coming from you? So, then I used to always kind of take reference of the Krishna story and say, though he was born to one mother, he had to grow up with another mother. And that's how God has designed certain things. And maybe, the sister of yours has to come from somewhere else. So, and children are very, very, they're like clay, they just kind of get molded. And it became like a common thing for her. Like I still remember she would go to school and say, my mama is getting a baby from somewhere else, but she's going to have a baby. And the teachers would be like, what is she even saying? But yeah, so it wasn't very difficult. And in fact, the sweetest thing was when we went to get little one into foster care. So because she was 5 plus, the older one was 5 plus, she had to give a letter saying that, she had like a no objection letter saying that she did not object to us adopting a child and things like that. And the letter that she wrote, I really wish I had a copy of it, but it was one of the sweetest things that I've ever read. So she had written everything on her own. She kept asking me for spellings
Wow.
and writing it. And she'd said that, I'm going to love my baby sister so much. And, she's the best thing that can happen to me. And this is like a 6-year-old writing that letter, and then she had signed
Awesome.
her name and all of that. So the
How
process
cute.
with her was very simple. And plus, I must give credit here to the SAA that we were registered with in Bangalore, which is Shishu Mandira in Delhi Circle. Even the counselors over there, when they came in during our pre-counseling, and even at the time when we had got taken the papers and gone before we went to get the little one into foster care, right? So the final set of adoption papers, when you to get the sealed envelope, they spoke to the elder one as well, and they asked her like, are you happy? Are you? What are you going to do when your sister comes? And all those questions, and they were quite pleased with the way she had responded to that. So there was a way in which they knew how to keep a tab on these things. And even in the post adoption, the 4 sessions that we had, they ensured that the nanny was present. They were very particular. So, though, like for you, when your little one came in during COVID, ours came in just before COVID, we had the COVID shutdown. It's just bang on there. So, even with her, they would either we would meet outside in a park or they would come home, and they ensured that the nanny was present. They ensured that my husband and my little one were there, elder one were there, and they ensured that the little one was left to play because they wanted to kind of understand how happy she was, in the environment that she is in. So given this, I think the entire process, as I said, was very, very smooth for us. And even the SAA from where we brought our little one, the home where we brought her from, the social workers over there were fabulous. In fact, they were the ones who called and told us we're going to kind of, get ready to come in the next 3-4 days because we think there's going to be a shutdown in the country because of this new virus. And, we're going to try to get you a date for the hearing. So it was like we finish the hearing, we come back, and the next day we have a lockdown in Bangalore.
Oh my God,
So
just
it
in
was it
time.
was that so the whole process was so smooth for us. But yeah, there were challenges. So when I talk about the challenges, it's like when you have your own biological child, right? So the elder one has a conditioning period of 9 months.
Correct.
So in this case, I think hats off to the older siblings because they actually kind of grow in maturity. They start looking at things in a very different perspective. There are situations where sometimes they feel like, oh, we're being left out. But me being the elder one in a family with 2 biological children and with a huge age gap between my sister and me, there have been times when I felt the same way. So there's no difference in that. It's about, as a parent, how do you kind of divide your affection and ensure that both of them feel emotionally secure, be it your biological children or be it a biological and a heart baby. It makes no difference. It's about showing that you care for them and ensure that they're emotionally secure so that their bond starts increasing. So that's something that every parent who is intending to adopt their second child has to be aware of and should take cognizance of.
Right. So, Kirtana, in your case, there was a good age gap, like almost, like when your older one was 6 years old, then, your younger one came home. Right. It was easy to, make them understand. What about you, Digangna? Because I know, like, your kids, they are like 3 years apart,
Three and a half,
right?
yeah, 3.5 years
Yeah.
apart. And also when we
So,
applied, my son was he was just like I said 1.5 years. So once paperwork and social worker came home, he was not even 2. So there was no chance for them to like speak to them or the SA talking to them because he was like really really uh, very small, right? But what I was doing with him was Krishna stories. I think was the best. Okay, so lot of stories, like because he again was somebody who used to love stories, and that's something that I had always been doing with him. So there would be like I would inculcate this, the concept of families, which is not just coming from mother's tummy, right? So there are other ways of growing, and of course there were a lot of questions and stuff, but then he kind of warmed into it. And then couple of months before, when we could figure that, our turn will be there, and we started telling him that, okay, we'll also, we are bringing home a sister, and who is not coming from your mama's tummy, but is coming from somewhere else, and she'll come, and you will get somebody to play with. So at that point of time, it was quite fuzzy to him, but the fact that I'm having a sister, that somehow got like stuck to him, and it's a good thing. Like, also, like with all the stories, and that Choco, who's your mother. So there are a lot of books that we know that kids have. Who's your mother is a very, very good one, which talks about, like this duck who's looking for her mother, and like, so this is those things really work. The stories really worked for us, I would say, to an extent that I still remember when we went to bring Dehi, and at that point of time, our SA, the one from where we got our baby, was very clear that it was, like I said, it was bang in the middle of COVID 2020. Okay, so they were like, only the parent, nobody else will be allowed inside. Okay, so only, so we had to, and I said that, okay, I have a 3.5-year-old son, and they were like, sorry, but you cannot get him. So it was very clear from there, and that and we were also very scared, because it was a long journey for us, and we were going by road, and like the states were all there were, it was quite messy at that time, right? So we had to leave him back and go. And this guy who's 3.5 has never left, like, lived his like full night without either of the parents ever. But he just agreed. He's like, bring bring my sister home. It's okay. I'll be fine. So we had to leave him with one of our friends, very close family friend. But and he was there was no hassle, there was no crying, and they were like, just bring her home. Okay. So he was, so this kind of, I think there has to be a little bit of preparation, right? That goes from the parent side, if grandparents are there from their side, but to get this concept, normalizing this concepts, right, into the child, no matter how what the age is, right? So that there goes the good part. Challenges part, of course they're siblings, of course they're fighting, okay, and I think that it goes whether it's a bio and a heart child or bio child. I think it's everywhere. I am a single child. I don't understand this love hate relationship, to be honest. Okay, one minute they're fighting, the other minute if I'm scolding one of them, then they're like, oh, you cannot scold because he's my brother. I'm like, where did all the love suddenly come from? 30 seconds ago you were like pulling his hair. So what is happening? Like, I don't get it. Like, being a single child, I really don't get it. But it's all there. And there are times when my son would like be so angry, and then I would say, just we'll just go and give her back to the SA name, because we had taken him back there when we went for our court thing, because we really wanted him to see the place, to understand the whole process, right? So he has seen the place, he has seen the babies there and everything. So he would get so angry, and I said, no, this is not right, we'll go back. The mother in me cringes when he says that, right? Or he used to say that. He doesn't anymore, but I don't react, because it's normal. I think he knows the whole process, and so for him it's very normal to say, oh, because we brought her from there, so now I don't want her, please go and give back. Okay. But to make him understand that it's a very hurtful thing to say. She doesn't understand yet. She is 3 years now, like, so she obviously doesn't understand what he's saying, but one day she will. And when she will, it's a very hurtful thing. She will be very sad. So slowly, talking or saying these things to him has helped, and thankfully he has stopped saying that now. So he's like, I told him, be angry, use your words, but don't use such words which will hurt her, or it'll hurt me also. So these kind of things, I guess, that's how the journey is going so far.
Just to add in this
So
one more thing that we did, and I think especially if there are people who already have like a child, like our older one was like, at an understanding age when the process actually kind of started speeding up. Similarly, if they do have something like that, so what we did was we allowed our elder one to decide on the little one's name. So, that whole involvement is there. And then that bonding begins, saying, I was the one who named, my little sister. So that kind of, I mean, these are the small emotional things which build and make the bond more strong.
Yeah, very much. I agree to that. Even we took him to for shopping. Like we had to buy all the clothes and all before going. So like you pick the tub, okay? You pick
Right.
the like the net, the mosquito thing, the bedding and all. So there's this sense of like I am part of this whole journey. I think that is
Correct.
really important.
Correct.
And
Correct.
picking the toys and all for the baby. So yeah, yes, I agree with Kirtan.
So with this, I would like to say, because my case is a vice versa situation over here. So the thing is, my younger one has to know like how the older sibling came home. So we kind of talk about it, and like now the younger one knows like, okay, Adya has a angel mama, and she came from angel mama's tummy, and but she is my sister. I love her a lot. She cannot go anywhere, and I don't know, the like you were saying, no, like 1 minute they are like fighting, and immediately they will just bond so well. You will be wondering, and I think it's very normal because I know I have a sibling, and it's absolutely normal. I still remember the days when I used to think, how should I hurt my younger one so that I wish I was all alone? Why did she even, like enter this world? So, these kind of situations do happen when I am angry on both of them. There was one day I was like really mad at them. I'm like, just go, yeah, both of you go. I don't want to see you. So my younger one is like, okay, I'll go back to your tummy. Adya, you go back to your angel mama's tummy. And I was like, oh my God, what did just happen? And I did not know how to react. But yes, like, it's more important, like you both said, that it's very, very essential to involve the children in what we are doing, in age appropriate way, of
Yeah,
course.
and also
So then,
normalizing the thing that it is normal that you are not coming from the same place. It is absolutely normal that I am angry on you and I'm saying things to you.
correct,
When you
correct.
have cooled down, then you understand that what you are saying and the implication that it can have on others, right? So I think that is very important. Instead of reacting and oh shh, no, don't say things like that. Oh my God. I
Correct,
mean,
correct.
I think that is something that we should really never do, right? And I hope both of you agree with me. This shushing and like hiding and saying things that oh no, we don't say things like that. I think that because the child then doesn't understand that what is right and what is wrong and what I should say and what I should not say, because there we are creating those stereotypes back again, right?
Right.
So I
Right.
think that
Absolutely.
is the important part that we as parents need to deal with.
Absolutely.
Right. So, with this, I think we have covered most of the things that we want to tell our audience, like the parents who are willing to go for adoption for the second child, and also for parents who have, have given birth to a biological child after a heart baby. So it's very important to involve them. That is most essential. Secondly, talk to them in age appropriate way, like what is happening, where the sibling is coming from, what's the story behind that, and also apart from your children, I think the family support also matters a lot. Like how your family members, like your parents, and like your spouse, and even the nannies who are there, because like Digangana, your son was quite young, and I'm sure you had a
Yes.
nanny for him. So, so these are the things that matters a lot, and I would like to say to my viewers, our viewers rather, sorry, that if you have any queries regarding this, please do not hesitate to talk to us. Please drop us a message on Pragna website, on our Pragna page, on Facebook, on Instagram, and even on YouTube, where I have a channel, Mom Story by Sana. So this video is everywhere. So if you have any queries regarding this, you want to talk about adoption, if you want to talk about anything related to adoption, please reach out to us. We are here to help you. So, with this note, I do not want to end here because this discussion is so interesting, and I just want this to keep on going. Lastly, what is your one message you want to give to the parents who are willing to adopt a second child? So, one message each one of you can share with us today. Kirtana, you go first.
Okay. First, most important thing, don't adopt because you think you're doing something. It's like your way to give back to society. Adopt because you want to grow your family, through adoption. Because it's just like having another baby. It doesn't matter, and only if you think like this, then go ahead and adopt your second child. That's the most important thing. Second thing, ensure that your spouse and you are on board, because at Pragna, we have heard of cases where we've had people coming to us for help where one of the spouse has not been on board, and there are cases where the child has come in and then they've returned the child because the spouse has said, listen, I can't handle this. Or there have been cases where they go all the way almost till the end of the adoption phase, and when the referral comes, they decide that they don't want to take the child in. Problem with this is there are so many other parents who are in the line, and you're unnecessarily kind of blocking the way. So unless you and your spouse are absolutely on the same page with regard to adoption, kindly do not apply. Third important thing is, if you already have a biological child, ensure that you sit down, talk to them, make them understand the whole process, especially if they're slightly older, and if needed, please go ahead and take the help of an adoption counselor or a child counselor. Have a complete conversation and ensure that your child is on the same page with you all, because if your child does not agree to this, understand that the equation between both the children has to be very, very good. Otherwise, the whole your whole effort to grow your family is going to go, it's just going to fall apart. So these are three very, very important things. And most importantly, talk about adoption and ensure that the larger family, especially like the immediate grandparents and your siblings, are on the same page with you, because otherwise, I mean, ultimately it's about growing the family. So unless they do not kind of unless they show signs of a tussle, or they show signs that they're not going to be okay with it, then ensure that you keep them away from the child as much as possible, because the children are your priority at the end of the day.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
the last one
Kirtana
seems a
has
little
covered,
harsh, but
yes, yeah.
you have to just take a stance. Sometimes you just have to become a lion or a lioness to protect your cubs. So, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, yeah, like I said, Ketan, I think has covered all the points. There's I just want to reiterate on the one thing as is that, if I mean, adopt only because you want a child, okay, and there should be no other reason, right? That that should, I mean, especially if you already have a biological child, right? So please then adopt just because you want to grow your family, and like normalize the thing, because children, and this I have seen with my own son, right? Because children, more than they hear you, they see you, so they pick up on your, on little things, little expressions that is. So when I'm talking to people, right, and of course, because of Pragna, all three of us, we talk a lot over the phone, when we get cases and we are talking about, and then while talking to people, of course your journey comes through. It's a very natural thing, because the parents or the uh, would be parents, right? They ask questions. Okay, how was it with you, and how did it happen, and how did it go? So while I'm talking, these kids, they are very, very perceptive, right? So they pick up on how your expression is when you are talking about bringing the sister home, and like how it went with them, and do they fight, and all these answers, when you are answering, they're in their intent. So imbibe the whole thing. Unless it is normal, the whole concept is normal in your own heart, it will not show, it will not come across as a normal thing. And so talk about it, talk to every, like in schools or everywhere. Like, there is no reason, please go talk about it, please answer questions. If you have doubts, counseling is so important, right? And counseling is not only for prospective parents. Even at this point, like, I have had my heart baby for 3.5 years now. If I have any issues, I need to go to a counselor and say, okay, I'm not able to handle this situation, what do I do, right? So please go for counseling if you need. It's really important. None of us in this whole world have answers to everything. Okay, we need help, we need to reach out to people, talk to parents who have been in similar situations. I do that. I have called Shahana so many times. Okay, I don't know what to do. Right. So we keep having these conversations ourselves also, right, Shahana? It's because no one person will have the answer. So reach out to Pragna, reach out to other resources that reach out to other parents who have been doing it for, and thankfully we know parents who have been doing this for 17, 18 years also, right? And so I think it's always good to match notes. It's always good to take suggestions to do the right thing. Yeah. So yeah, that's all.
Wonderful, wonderful. And to this,
I
I just
think
want to add one small thing, because I have got a lot of queries and a lot of people calling me on this, that we think that our older child needs a friend, so that's why we want to adopt. So please don't do that. And I would also say that parenting is really challenging. It needs time, it needs patience, it needs efforts. You have to invest in that. It's not just that pal jayenge wala. That is not the case that's happening right now. So even if you are planning for a second child, whether you plan to go for adoption, or you want to go for a biological child, think twice, because just don't go for it because your older child needs a sibling. So that is not a reason to go for it. And thank you so much, Kirtana Digangana, for joining in today at this hour, and doing this for Pragna and me. Thank you so much for your support. I can always bank on both of you, and I would say like you are the two gems that I could grab in my life. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for calling us over.
Thank you so much, Anna.
Okay, thank you, viewers. I hope this session was really useful for all of you. And like I said earlier, like if you have any queries, you want to talk to us, you want to connect with the counselor, you can always, drop a message to us, and we are here to help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.